I would argue that lifestyle is what, when, and how much we eat, sleep, and move on a daily basis. And the when is what we're really going to focus on tonight. So the when is very important. When we move, when we eat, when we sleep, and we've changed the way that we do these things over time. Our opportunity to eat, the time we spend sleeping, the time we spend engaged in physical activity has all changed in the modern era. And you can see, compared to our ancestral rhythms or day-to-day lifestyle, we have really expanded our opportunities to eat while limiting our physical activity and time spent sleeping. And this nearly around the clock opportunity to eat, I think, has a lot to do with the risk of cardiometabolic diseases like obesity, metabolic syndrome, and diabetes that we face today. You can see, instead of rising with the sun, eating opportunistically during 2 or 3 times during the day, and then transitioning back into sleep, living a healthy, physically active life all day long. Now we spend much less time engaged in physical activity. We eat maybe even before the sun comes up. We eat multiple times throughout the day and into the evening and as the sun sets. So I would argue that this pattern of modern daily rhythms is an important consideration in developing lifestyle strategies to prevent cardiovascular and cardiometabolic diseases. And there's a biological basis to this. You can see on the slide the number of physiologic processes that follow a daily rhythm. And that's what I mean by life on Earth is adapted to day-night cycles and a daily rhythm. We, through our modern lifestyle, live this more erratic lifestyle that does not follow a typical circadian rhythm of metabolism or this normal day-night cycle that we're really adapted to. And as you can see, this erratic lifestyle is related to an increased risk for cardiovascular and cardiometabolic diseases, including an increase in the prevalence of risk factors like high blood pressure, as I mentioned, metabolic syndrome, prediabetes, and diabetes. And what we would like to encourage patients to do is to adopt more of a circadian lifestyle, where we're really thinking about the way in which metabolism follows this day-night cycle, and the circadian rhythm of metabolism is something that we're thinking about, not only in terms of when we're up and active, but especially when we are eating. So could there be another way of getting at something that typically does involve calorie restriction, intermittent fasting, but is based on principles of that daily circadian rhythm of metabolism? Maybe there's benefits beyond weight loss. Maybe there could be particular metabolic and cardiovascular benefits of a diet or lifestyle strategy that not only involves some caloric restriction, but follows the circadian rhythm of metabolism and those normal day-night cycles of metabolism that I described at the beginning of this talk. And there's been a call for these dietary or lifestyle interventions from the American Heart Association, for example, that look at meal timing and meal frequency. We know that we have to go beyond calorie restriction. We have to go beyond the content of foods. Don't get me wrong, a heart-healthy diet is critical. The content of the foods that we eat, we need to consume a heart-healthy diet style. But I think there's more to it than that. And this scientific statement from the American Heart Association suggested that a more intentional approach to eating that focuses on timing and frequency of meals could be the basis of a healthier lifestyle and improved risk factor management. And here's the key. Because feeding and fasting entrain clock genes, which regulate all aspects of metabolism, meal timing can have serious implications for the development of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and obesity. So perhaps intermittent fasting is an important tool for cardiometabolic health. Perhaps it's something that goes beyond calorie restriction or other strategies that we've used in the past. And what was meant in that American Heart Association statement about clock genes and the um, importance of the lifestyle strategy aligning with the circadian rhythm and the expression of clock genes? Well, as I mentioned, our physiology is regulated by an internal clock that generates daily rhythms of metabolism known as circadian or around 1 day. And much of the physiology in our bodies is really adapted to the rotation of our planet with signals that we receive from things like exposure to light, but also exposure to food and other cues in our environment. The central clock in the body is in the brain. It's in the suprachiasmatic nucleus depicted here. And light entrains the central clock, entrains the cells and gene expression in the suprachiasmatic nucleus. And you can see in those images the pictures of the cells in the suprachiasmatic nucleus lighting up as they express genes in response to stimulation by light, by the rising of the sun. The central clock then sends downstream signals to peripheral organs like the liver. And this circadian rhythm of metabolism from brain to liver functions in a predictable way day after day until food comes into the picture. When the bagel is introduced to the liver, gene expression there changes. So there's input not only from the brain down to peripheral organs like the liver that determine the expression of genes involved in metabolism at the liver, but the exposure to food and other cues can reset the clocks and affect gene expression. So it's important for all of these cues to align and to occur in a predictable and rhythmic fashion each day to ensure that metabolism and the expression of these genes occur at the appropriate time to optimize metabolism and the body's ability to metabolize, break down, and process that bagel needs to be received at the right time when the liver is cued and ready to metabolize. So how does this link back to cardiovascular disease or cardiometabolic risk? Well, as a cardiologist, I'm thinking about the risk of plaque buildup within arteries, atherosclerosis, and understand that this is a process really driven by multiple risk factors that are related, that come together to promote the progression of plaque and the risk for cardiovascular events like heart attack and stroke. Increases in hemoglobin A1C, which is a measure of blood sugars in the body, LDL cholesterol, like I mentioned, triglycerides, increases in blood pressure. All of these things accelerate the progression of atherosclerosis. These are driven by changes at the organ level in the pancreas, development of prediabetes related to the onset of insulin resistance in peripheral organs like skeletal muscle, proteinuria, and other forms of kidney disease that occur as a part of a cardio-kidney metabolic syndrome, fatty liver disease, and ultimately atherosclerosis leading to cardiovascular events like heart attack and stroke. And again, the expression of these clock genes in the suprachiasmatic nucleus depicted here as lighting up in response to internal cues, as well as cells that can be entrained by exposure to light. These cells follow this 24-hour cycle of gene expression. And I think in developing a lifestyle strategy that gets at multiple cardiometabolic risk factors all at once, I think getting our metabolism better aligned with those cues coming from these cycles from the central clock down to peripheral organs like the liver really has the potential to play a key role